One of the core concepts in the HTTP specification is the concept of content negotiation. This is where a client asks for a resource, like a list of videos or a stock quote, and when it requests the resource, it also includes an HTTP header, the accept header, to tell the server the representation it would prefer to see. There is also an accept language header for the client to tell the server the language they would prefer, like French or Swedish or English. And there are headers to specify the desired encoding and character set, but we're going to focus on the accept header for just now. The accept header that you see on the screen in the arrow is an accept header saying, I would like a PNG image. And the reason this is important is because a server might be holding a particular resource, like the stock price for Microsoft, but that single resource can have multiple different representations. We could take that stock price resource and render it in an HTML view, or we could render the stock price in XML or in JavaScript object notation, or maybe as an image. The idea of having a single resource with multiple different representations, that's a central theme in the web, and it's one of the reasons the web is so interoperable, because we can, if we try hard enough, always give the client the representation they want to see, the representation that they know how to work with. The Web API will take care of content negotiation for us. Essentially, there are different formatters that are plugged into the Web API runtime, and each formatter knows how to handle a specific media type. Media type is the fancy term we use for how to represent a resource. Do you want a media type of JSON, or XML, or HTML, or JPEG image? If you want more details on content negotiation and HTTP, see my HTTP course here on Pluralsight.com. For now, let's see how content negotiation works in our project. With the application running in debug mode and curl opened up, let's go back to where we were just requesting the get method for all videos. And with the breakpoint set there, I'm going to go into debug windows and open up the immediate window, which if you've never used this before, it's a wonderful little interactive environment where you can play around with things. And I want to look at the global configuration object in ASP.NET MVC, which exposes a static property global configuration.configuration. And inside of here, you can see that there are 4 formatters that are registered in ASP.NET MVC by default. This is a collection that you can add in your own formatters. You can remove the default formatters. But if we look at what formatters are, we can see that formatters are things that take an object that I return from a Web API method, like getAllVideos. This is just a string array. It takes one of these objects and builds a representation out of it in a specific media type. For instance, there's the JSON media type formatter and the XML media type formatter, and then a couple formatters to deal with essentially form data. And the default formatter that's going to be used if the Web API doesn't know what to do with a particular request is going to be the first formatter here, which is the JSON media type formatter. If I just go ahead and say continue in the application and then tell it to stop debugging because we don't need to look at that anymore, and we come back into curl, this is a JavaScript object notation representation of that string array. It's something that is easily consumed by JavaScript. And the reason it came out in JSON is because if I issue this request again with a -v to say make this verbose, then we'll see everything that went between the server and the client. And one of the things I can see is that when curl sent this request to the server, it sent it with an accept header of */*. Basically, give me anything, give me everything. So there wasn't any specific piece of information in there that the Web API could use to say, oh, they want XML or they want JSON. Well, we're not sure, so we'll just fall back to the default, which is JSON. But I can, with curl, using a $H, send off a specific header, like an accept header, and say, please give me application/JSON, and I get the JSON back that I would expect. And let me take the verbose flag off of here so we don't see everything anymore. And now I want to change this to be, please give me XML. And the Web API happily serializes that array of strings into XML. And presumably I would ask for XML if I'm in an environment where it's easy to parse the XML that comes back. And now let's try one more trick. Let's say, give me all the videos, but serialize them as image/PNG. Well, and I get back JSON. That's why this is content negotiation. I'm saying I would like an image, but since the Web API didn't have a formatter registered to take some arbitrary CLR object and make an image out of it, then I just get back with the default formatter built for me, which is the JSON. And hopefully this demonstrates to you what content negotiation can do, and the reason it is important is because now I have a web service that is very highly interoperable. If someone is programming in a JavaScript environment or a Ruby environment and they have a library or an API that makes it very easy to consume JSON, then they can walk up to this web service and send along an accept type that says, please give me JSON back. But if I'm in an environment like C#, where it might be easier to parse XML, then I can request the XML instead.